from the north of England left school at 14 years of age, I doubt that he imagined that he would eventually become one of the leaders of a multi-billion-dollar business empire, responsible for many companies that have become familiar names around the world. Here's how his business partner, Lord Hanson, describes him.
Gordon White, Lord White, in case some of yours may not know, is your partner.
Right.
And you've been together for 40 years.
It sounds like a song, doesn't it?
It's fantastic. It does. I mean, it really does.
Yeah.
You know, because very few marriages last 40 years, let alone partnerships.
Yes.
How do you think you did that?
I think we both had a particular talent for doing something. Gordon is certainly the most talented man when it comes to finding new ventures in which to invest, and he knows about how to look at companies, and we've specialized to a degree to a great degree in buying other companies and building the company up that way and then running them as independent parts of this company.
Yes.
And you don't pin down a genius of that kind to do it. We trust each other absolutely. I've never given him any advice on how he should live his life, and he has never told me what I should do, privately, I mean. Typically Gordon, of course, he went and bought a couple of companies before he'd even thought about it, and they came into this company. He's just stayed with us ever since. He didn't do his own thing. But together we've got a very good rapport. We understand each other, and I think I have said before that Gordon's great strength is his creative ability, his genius, a genius, and he shouldn't be tied down to the routine. I enjoy the administrative routine. I enjoy working with people. Gordon's very much a loner and likes to be on his own. I don't mind being in a slightly larger corporate atmosphere. And so he relies on me to deal with that side of it, and I rely on him to find the companies and to keep us on the mark, too. He's a very good businessman.
Fun to begin at the very beginning, when you were 16 and you left school.
Well, it was very simple, really. My father wanted me to continue at school. I hadn't got a very good scholastic record, but I just didn't think school had any more to offer me. And he said that I could leave, provided I got a job. So I got a job as an office boy in a timber merchant's in Hull, and I was there for about 3 months. And it seemed to me that if I could spend the rest of my life in an office, I wouldn't want to spend it in this particular office. My father had a business, advertising, sort of advertising and publishing business. So I left this job and went to work for him. And he gave me a very tough time. I learned an awful lot. And the war broke out.
Yes. And you went into the war in 1942, is that right?
That's right,
yes.
Yeah. And I found really that life in the service was fraught with very small sections of danger and lots of boredom. And the main objective I felt was to find a niche for myself. And it seemed to me that with my personality and my way of being, that I would be better off in special forces than I would be in the regular service. So I managed to get myself into SOE, which was a clandestine operation operating in the Far East. And we were operating cruise ships into the South Indian Ocean off the coast of Java, which was exciting and I suppose as good a way of passing the time in the war as anything. So then after the war, when I came back, I started up my father's old business again and went from there.
One of the things that really was interesting to me was how you started up. I mean, you were in your father's business, but you were doing like 200 cold calls a week.
Well, you see, if you're selling advertising space
right.
on what one would call local media, you're selling an intangible. Right. And there are not a lot of people who are prepared to buy intangibles. So it was the weight of calls that would enable you to book the necessary pages of space to fill the book you were working on or the magazine that you were working on.
But I think the thing that takes is it takes a lot of courage when you're that age, you know, when you're quite young, to face the cold call. It's a little scary.
I was always very shy about the whole thing. I hated doing it.
Right.
As a matter of fact, it's still a recurrent nightmare.
Is that
That
right?
if I ever sort of went broke or something, that I have to go back to selling space.
Do you feel that a lot of British people going over to America feel that it's very easy to succeed there, or would you have advice for that, or what do you feel?
Well, I
about
think anyone going to America will have to work. I don't think that it feather beds too many people
Right.
in too many industries. But of course, it's very difficult now because to get a green card. I do believe there are a lot of, I saw somewhere someone said there are about 250,000 girls that have disappeared into the United States without visas.
I wonder how that happened.
Yes, that's
know.
right.
I guess the other thing that was exciting to me was how you went from, say, the $3,000 all the way up. It was in a matter of 10 years that you built up to a huge amount of money. And how did you do that? I mean, how does that happen?
Well, I have to say, it's difficult to tell you how it happened.
Right.
A lot of luck. A lot of luck. And the first deal I ever did, I was able to defer payment. That gave me a platform.
Right.
And then, of course, we had a tremendous fall in the value of companies on both sides of the Atlantic with the OPEC crisis. I mean, literally, people considered then that the world was coming to an end. So it was totally overdone, and there were a lot of companies in America that I was able to look at, and some of which I was able to buy very cheaply because they were undervalued because of the panic that existed after the OPEC crisis.
But that took really courage, didn't it, to buy when everybody else is sort of madly selling? Don't you think that?
Well, I mean, if you think the world's going to come to an end, you see, everything seems to me to get overdone.
Right.
And in this circumstance, it was totally overdone. I mean, there were companies on the New York Stock Exchange were valued on the exchange less than the money they had in the bank.
Oh.
So that's the way I was able to buy some companies there that were very good buys.
So you looked at the assets of the company and
Yes.
what they were really valued at.
Always look at the assets.
Have you had all winning experiences? I mean, through those 10 years, did you have some losing times, some times that you felt, oh gosh, I'd like to be in anything but this? And how did you get back on track? A lot of people give up so easily when they have a...
But I suppose it sounds pretty awful, but I really never had one.
You didn't?
No.
Oh, you were very lucky. And how did it affect your personal life at all? Working as hard as you were working? I mean, I know you went through a divorce and...
Yes.
Right. Do you feel that some of that related to it?
I suppose it did, yes. I suppose it had a major effect. I don't think you can lead the type of life I was leading and expect to fill in at home too, because it just doesn't work that way. The American work ethic are really quite tremendous.
Yes.
I mean, they boast about training their lawyers through the various major law firms. They give them a terrible beating. I mean, they work 60, 70, 80-hour weeks. And if there's absolutely no consideration in the mind of an American, at least the ones I was dealing with, that, I mean, if you're going to work over the weekend or you're going to work through Friday night, or whatever the personal aspect of your life is, it has to be subjugated to the needs of your business career, which is very much more. You see, when you ask about the difference between the British and the American people, I think you find that the Americans will work harder to have, for instance, a second car, where in Britain we seem more to be content with we want the social life. We won't give up that aspect of it in order to, I suppose, earn enough money to have some toys.
I know I've been a little bit surprised that businesses start at 9 o'clock here. I'm so used to, in the States, 8 o'clock and 7 o'clock in the morning. Because in the States, if you don't make calls by 7, it's really too late.
Certainly is out of California because everything's closed down.
That's right. Yes. And the stock market, of course, reflects that,
Yes.
What about some of the latest things that you've been doing?
Oh, challenges.
Yes, challenges.
Well, I suppose I've always been driven by some form of challenge, where,
Yes.
whether it be by and large, physical challenges were always important to me. The tinge of danger, perhaps, was something that excited me, because if you do something that you can hurt yourself very badly if it goes wrong, then it makes the adrenaline run at a fair pace. So, I mean, like, I suppose fox hunting, parachuting, driving fast cars, that sort of aspect of life is very exciting. And the challenge to me, actually, as I got older, and I realized I can no longer have the falls that I used to take with various activities that I involved myself in, that I would have to do something to improve the quality of my body, which, as I got older, began to fall apart, you know, the 2 martini
like everybody.
lunches. Exactly.
That's right. What did you do? What have you started?
Well, I started a program that, quite frankly, looking back on it, appalls me to think that I was actually doing what I was doing, because I hated it. I was never a man that liked exercise very much. But I started on the nutrition side, whatever one eats and drinks, and then graduated to cardiovascular workouts, which are either the treadmill or the bicycle or running in the park. And then to a little weight training, because as you get older, of course, the muscles begin to atrophy. And there's something rather dismal about someone grasping your upper arm and you can feel their fingers meeting to the bone. You know? So that drove me to do a little weightlifting.
Well, you also gave up smoking.
Well, I did. I gave up smoking. I gave up a lot of things. I gave up smoking. I gave up sugar. I gave up butter.
Right. Do you regret it?
Not really, no. I feel a lot better, because I have to say that the part of life which I think is really rather cruel is that most of the pain, if one was lucky enough to go through life without having anything really serious happen to you, comes when you get old. You know, all the old injuries, the aching muscles, and I think life gets very miserable. And a lot of it is due to the fact that one reduces the exercise that one takes as one gets older.
Instead of maybe increasing it. One of the things with young people is that they give up too easy. You know, they think, oh gosh, I could make it if I had more money, if they'd give me a chance, if I was the manager of that company, and it goes on. And they don't think of the abilities that they might have within themselves. Do you feel that way?
Well, I think it's very easy to cop out, and I think it's very easy to blame your position in life, your situation. I think it's easy to blame your parents. I think it's easy to blame anybody for not achieving something. But the point about it is that the past is over, you see. There's nothing you can do about your past. There's nothing really you can do about your future other than work to make it better. And that means you have to do something in the present. Right. And that is it's very easy to say, well, I don't want to do this, and I don't want to do that, and I can't do this, and I can't do that. Whereas if one really were to tackle any job and tackle it wholeheartedly and master it, then you're going to be successful.
Well, thank you very much. Really, I know you've really made the best of everything that you've done.
My pleasure. Thank you.